got everything set up to start doing some trading. Let's see my view. Alright. Oh, let's start getting some trading done. Is anybody in the chat? Anybody here? Anybody here? Alright, let's see what we got going on. I don't know, it says one. I'm guessing that's me viewing it. But if somebody happens to be there, drop in on the chat, that way I know. What's that redoing that? And let me know how things sound. Uh-oh. Who the heck's ringing the doorbell? Hang on, be right back. Alright, somebody was knocking at the door trying to sell me something. New subs. How did we get that set up? That's cool. Stream info. Alright, if anybody pops up here in the next little bit, sorry, I'm about to be trading. Notice one thing that I'm trying to fix. Share information. Where the heck is this part? Do not see it face off what this is saying. Alright, I got some live stream going. I am getting used to that, but while we got that going, I'm going to go ahead and try to make a video, doing a little educational video, unless we get some people in here and they start wanting to see some stuff. But I'm going to show you guys kind of what I look for whenever I go on these. Typically, I'm going to go ahead and say this. When the market has a lot of, on the migrated side, having a market cap between like 4 and 6, the market's slow or dead. I just got on a little bit ago, made a new wallet, got everything fresh, restarted. So now I got everything set up. And right now, without doing much other than the, let's see, I did 2 trades, much other than those, just based off the market caps, it's looking like this might be a little slow, but I mean, we got some runners, we got some ones or potential runners. We're going to look into them. So that's the first thing I do, is look at the overall market, because I have noticed, it was probably about like 2 weeks ago, I have noticed that whenever the market gets slow, not only does it get slow and you got to wait longer and look longer, but ones that should bounce off, or ones that I would typically want to see bouncing off support levels, they do such a small bounce that you don't get anything off of them, and you potentially lose, because when they don't barely bounce and they keep going down. Anyway, overall market, first thing I look for. Second thing I look for is a lot of times on the very ones, or the ones that very first come on the migrated section, I'll go ahead and put those in a tab. I'll go ahead and take a look, see how they're trading from the start. And sometimes I'll watch them for a minute for an entry, and sometimes I'll watch them just to see if they're going to trade in a normal way. Like this one right here, normally when it just migrates, it would have traded off this key support area instead of went to the next one. And that doesn't tell me all too much, but it does a little bit. It says this might not be too strong of a stock. It might not be one of those that go up to 300K, but if it were, might, we still have some playing out to see. So typically on these, I kind of watch them for a minute and see how they're going to play out before I make any moves. The only other times I really get in them immediately is sometimes I'll put limit orders on some trades, but usually I'll do that if it's like such an obvious trade. Like right here, even though that was a support level, you have this support level, you have this support level, you have this support level. You know, if it's got like one, just it sticks out there main support level, I'll put it out there on that. It doesn't mean that I'll actually get filled and get that position, because sometimes, especially if it's real strong, sometimes it comes down like this one did tap, like let's say this was main area and it'll tap it and pop up. Sometimes that main area is one support level below where it actually hits and runs at. So that's the only thing about trading the ones that just come out. I kind of just watch how they're trading before I really do anything with them. I want to say there's 1 or 2 exceptions, and I'll try to see if I can find some of those charts, because off the top of my head I can't remember what some of those look like that I do sometimes hop into, other than if it's got such an obvious key support level that we want to bounce. Like right here, this is a level we want to get in on. Like I'd be watching it, this is the main key support level, tested it twice, but I'd be wanting to get in right there and looking for an entry. Right now, this is still a possible good trade. We're looking for an entry. We got the RSI all the way down. We got it bouncing off of support level. I don't have a stop loss on here right now, so I don't have my setting. The ones I was trading earlier, I need to reset that. Usually I want to get in on these with some stop losses. But right here, that would have been a entry right there. So sometimes you can try to let it retest. Sometimes you can get in on for the entry right there and just put your stop loss below, because if it goes below, then it ain't going to work. And if it retests, or if it wants to bounce down, it can retest that level, or it can bounce all the way down and retest your level again. So as long as your stop loss is below that, you'd be good. But you do want to have stop loss, especially on these faster moving ones, right when they get migrated, because as you know, they can get pumped and dumped super quick. So I do want to have my stop loss on that. Let's go ahead and get that going. The only adjustment I make with my stop loss is with these, I usually put 20%, and I still more so trade with this, or try to. It's just more so for like a, just in case it pumps and dumps and I miss hit or something, just, you know, just in case, saves me a little bit. But like in that case it would have worked, but let's say it did what this did, and when it came and retested that level, it just blew through it. That would have sucked. But these have some entries. The only bad thing about this one is it just migrated a minute ago, went all the way up to like 100, and now it's already retracing down to this 30 level. That's a big reason why I just watch some of them sometimes, because, you know, this is a support level. Yeah, you can get in for that bounce, and that's 10%, but that's 10% if you get in on it perfectly and get out on it perfectly, and you're super quick about it, and you're not expecting a retracement. Because, you know, if you're expecting a retracement here, or have a stop loss set for here, hoping for the upside more than 10%, then you would have seen it go up 10%, just come all the way back down, and then lose your money. So a lot of times that's why, you know, sometimes these are best to watch, but sometimes it's also hard when you see those new ones going up and they immediately just keep popping instead of retracing all the way. But we're going to look for some entries right now. The RSI is getting a little high, so more than likely it's not going to go any higher than this area right now, or right here, before it pops down, because that's going to be a ceiling. So right there it's breaking through. RSI is too high, so I see it coming down at this level. It can keep blowing through, it can keep doing whatever it's wanting to do. RSI, it can go actually up to here. That's high as it's went before, but that's the level I would say. So it broke through that level a little bit. Now it's coming for the bounce down, so now we can get some support level. Now it can bounce off that area instead of that being a ceiling. So that's exactly what it did. It bounced off that level. So since it blew through that ceiling became a floor. So still, it's a strong looking stock, but it's still not really giving us any good setups or any key setup areas. That today we're going to be looking for more so those easy, perfect entries. Just be on the safe side, because things be rugging sometimes. Whoa, what happened? Am I still in here? What just happened to my stuff? All my stuff went black for a second. That was weird. Never seen that happen before. Alright, so this one could give us an entry. It's going to retest this level. Yeah, it's happening fast though. It's happening fast. One thing that is different when it comes to the actual stock market, that it used in a way that it's not as fun, just because stocks move a lot slower than these, or after getting used to kind of seeing how these move, stocks seem to be moving super slow. But the only bad thing is with these, when they move so fast and you come over here and look for key support levels, you could already miss the move and it's done. So like this one would have been a good area to look for an entry, but minimum for a scalp, and that happened in one move and done. So there was no entry right there. There was no looking out for it. It was happened and done. So right here, the ceiling of this one would be the next one. Let's see if it takes a little bounce. If that's not it, then it's going to be the ceiling of this one, or it's going to be double bottoming. Alright, so that's now the floor of it right here. We could potentially get an entry right here. Let's see if it bounces and spikes up. That would be your entry right there, and put your stop loss immediately under there, because that's either going to spike up or it's going to consolidate or spike down. Spiking down, so that's why you want your stop loss right there. We want them easy entries though, them easy looking ones. We're looking for them perfect setups today. It's starting to give setups and scalping points, but today my main goal is to look for ones that I can kind of hold on, because I've been scalping too much lately, and too many times, way too many times I've been, you know, let's say I got in here, scalp for like 10% just for it to keep doing that, and I keep getting in on these key levels, If I'm looking for the main ones, I am, but sometimes I'm just looking for scalps. But today we're going to be looking for ones that we can do a little mix of scalp and hold. So scalp for like 50%, and then hold the rest of the 50% on the way up. Let's see what some of these are doing as we're letting this play out. So this one, actually, let's go back to this one. We can start looking at this on the RSI chart just for movements on here. So right here, we're starting to have the ADX and an RSI coming together. And there's one move that I came up with. It's Kissing Method, the BR method. It's where we get a spike on the ADX and the RSI coming together for at least a minimum of a scalp. Like this one would have been a strong one over here. Let's see. We're getting a good setup right here. We might get in just for 0.1 and re-average if it does keep going down. Did I not get filled? There we go. Alright, we're in and out. We were out before the stop loss even popped up as an option. So that one, let's see what we did on that one. All right, we got 26% on that one. So, and if you're wondering why I went right there, so those two areas, typically it's the ceiling. You want one where you have something going through a ceiling and a floor, and one that has a strong ceiling. So the top of these are ceilings since the thing was coming down, and you have multiple strong ceilings right here. At the same time, you're going through a floor. So since it was spiking down so quick, that was the level I was looking at for it to hit. We could have got in right there and it could have just kept rinsing down. That's always a possibility. But that in conjunction with the RSI being super low with a third one, and this one, the ADX you don't have to have, but the Kissing Method is one that it seems to just always work. When you got an ADX high spiking at the same time the ADX or the RSI is, and then you have three confirmations where then you have this thing I just talked about. You typically want to have two confirmations at the minimum, or I do. That's my trading strategy. We're starting to get another bounce right here. It's bouncing off this level, and since it's got about a 50% retracement, that's a good level. So that one, that is still an entry position. We could technically get in on this, put the stop loss real close. This is actually a good entry, but I want to explain more of why I got in that, just in case you're wondering. So see it spiking up. That would have been at least a scalper, depending on how you had the thing set. Let's see, it went from, I mean, it's still the way up. You still could have been in it, depending on, as long as you had your stop loss below this hump right here, you still would have been in it and you would have been good to go. That would have been a good one. But back to this one. So since we had three confirmations doesn't guarantee you a win, but 2 gives you a high probability, and 3 gives you an even higher probability. Nothing's 100% guaranteed, but that's the perfect ones I look for. Like up here, we had some entries, but not anything with 2 confirmations, or not 2 that happened as obvious. And today we're going to do those obvious ones. If you got any questions, let me know. I am new to this, so I need to figure out. There's my chat. All right. Let's see what else is going on. So RSI is getting high right here. Now RSI, on a lot of these, you won't see them breaking through that strongly, but it kind of depends on how it's moving and the volume and how strong it is. When I say strength, I mean strength. Well, I'll explain it at a different time. It'll be easier to show kind of a little better idea on the strength on a different chart, because typically you don't have it blowing through, blowing down, blowing through, blowing down, unless it's got one with crazy volume. But strength on a different one might mean it found a really good support level. So maybe it was trading you know, a little slower, but then when it hit that key support level, it was just spiking. That one, in that case, it could blow past one of the big areas of that RSI line. So right here, we got one area it could test right here and do a little quick scalp or go all the way up. It's not a perfect entry though, but it's one area to look for. So that would be one right there. Now it's spiking up. I would get out in my opinion, just because it's got ceilings right here. But I see it could come up to this, let's see, 42.2 area at the minimum. That would be a safer play for, I would say, if you did want to hold and a position that you really wanted to look for, because it would definitely retest that level if it didn't test this ceiling where I said I would have got out at. So it would have been a quick scalp though, and it broke through now, so you would want to be out of that one, because right here, that floor is where you'd want to set your stop loss, because once it breaks to that one, it's going to all the way down to that next level that it needs to retest, which would be, there's two areas, it's right there, or three areas, right there, right here, or right here. And it really could be either one of them. This is where you want to look at both of these. So RSI, with a conjunction of that, it very well could be where it is right now. But also, since the RSI is so low over here, it wouldn't take much for that to jump down to either one of these areas actually. So really, you have two confirmations right here, but you also have two confirmations that could be here and here. So you want to look for a stronger entry. Like this would be an entry, and you could set your stop loss up, and if it didn't work, you could just get immediately back into it or average down. I would, if I had my stop loss, usually I would set it right there, but in this case, since the next level it could bounce off of, it would be right there. I would set it right there. The only reason I wouldn't get in on this one is because since it has three, if it didn't work on, and they all have the same probability of it popping at those, then, you know, if you got in here and you had your stop loss all the way down here, that'd be a pretty big loss. So you might as well just wait for it to make the move instead of going to the very top one and seeing what it does. Let's see what some of these other ones are doing while we still got that one pulled up. All right, 33 seconds in this one, 77 down. So this is one I would definitely not trade until later on. I mean, it's just spiking up, spiking down, spiking up, spiking down. Could be a strong stock later, but all right. So there you go. Blew through that, blew through that, blew through that. So it went all the way down actually to this one. So it blew through all those three and went down to the very next one. Look at this RSI. RSI went even lower than those previous ones. It's always a possibility. But you could, the only play that would have been in that one if you did get up there and you didn't have stop loss is once it went down, find the next entry and then put the same amount in that you put up there and average down. Now that averaging down is a little risky, or it's actually very risky. It's not as risky, I would say, on stocks. Just because you don't have to worry about somebody completely rug pulling. This is a key support level in this one right here. This would be one trade I would possibly get in for a scalp. So it's making this move up. I would already be out right here because you got so much strength right there on the ceiling. Just for that safe side, I would be out right there. But it's blowing through it, so either way, it can do whatever it wants to do. Whenever you're not in the trade, up or down, don't worry about it. It's all about those safe, highest probability areas. These two are good. We're going to be watching these for some more entries. I might open another tab up, and we take a look at another one. There's something I was going to say about this one, but now I can't remember. Cannot remember what I was going to say about that one. I already said about averaging down. Oh, the averaging down, yeah. It's not as risky on stocks because, like, let's say you put $10 in here and $10 in here, it would average out, you know, in the middle. But stocks, they don't go from 100 to 0, and these, you know, hopefully when the market's going good, Good ones don't go from 100 to 0, but there's always that possibility on these. There's always those moments where you get in one and it just out of nowhere rugs, and those suck. But there is some red flags to kind of look out on those, or on, there's no guarantee on those, but there is some red flags I've learned to kind of find on those. And it's not necessarily about checking for bundles and checking for all that, because I've done that before, and while it does work, there's been a lot of things. Look right here, coming up to support level, could bounce right here, or this one. This would be the biggest obvious one. RSI showing low too. Oh, I didn't get feel good right there. We went out though because the RSI was showing some weakness, so I guess technically a win, but I didn't get filled too well right there. Tried to fill up when it said 12, but that was probably more of a break even than anything after fees. That's fine. This would be the next support level, but with how much it's dropped, just been 4 minutes in, we ain't touching that. The only play that I would touch this with is the very bottom. I've sometimes set limits up at the very bottom with these, to where once it hits that, it gets tapped. It can always go through that bottom, like, because the bottom of this one's, let's see, what is that? That's 5, 6, but it can go down to like 3, 5. So you can still lose a good percent, but sometimes if it's got enough volume with enough holders, that very bottom, more times than not, it gives a little pop, and that would be like that little pop. That would be all it would look like. So it would be super quick. But going from 6 to 8, that's a high percent, or it's higher than you might think it is. But it didn't quite go down that bottom area. But that's all it would look like. Now sometimes it'll hit that bottom area, and for whatever reason, it'll give a little pop, and then it'll just shoot up out of nowhere. And those are manipulated, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on with those. I don't know any traders who would get in on the very bottom and spike it all the way up unless somebody's trying to pump it back up on purpose. Alright, so right there is where I'd get in. Let's see, so it was like 517, so it'd be for a loss right now. Let's just see what it would have done if we got in. So 4.5, it's making that tiny pop up. It'd be, I would get out like 5, well, no, let's see, 6.2 area if I was in it. Either way, the only good thing about getting in low is it can only go so low. Like usually they don't go past 3.5, so I would have my stop loss like 3.5, and that one would have been a loser. So they don't work every time, but I would say those work more often than not. Technically we would still be in. It's only at 3.7, so it'd be really close to stopping us out, but not quite there. So there's always potential, but the holders aren't there anymore. You would want more so on this one. If you're doing the bottom play, you would want a high number of holders. That would be one of the main things you'd want to look at on those. And typically it works almost, I wouldn't say 100% of the time, but I would say 80% of the time when it has like 150 holders. And the only thing about that is there's one thing about that, and that's if you ever notice some of these that come out, some of the manipulated ones, you'll see where they get a ton of people. Like that's already got 28 holders already, but not much volume. If that was a strong one, that would have definitely more volume than the market cap as that's going up. It's starting to change a little bit, but you get the ones I'm talking about. Like one, they have like 1 million market cap with 1,000 people in it, but only $100,000 in volume or 100K volume. So those, even though you'd technically it'd be showing the volume or the people, it wouldn't be as strong of a potential of working. This one's curling. Look at it. It's at 4.2. On this one, since it wouldn't have tapped us out, I probably would have took out of that 4.2 just to accept the loss for what it was. we're getting some strength in the market right now. Some of these are moving very good. We're looking at the overall. Well, I'm trying to get out of this. Where's that other one at? See what the 5-second interval looks like on that one that dropped. Why is my... There we go. So these are dying off. It's one reason right there. I hate the pump and dump. Pump and dumps. It's a big thing you do not get on stocks. This one's trading pretty strong. This is one that here the last few days it's starting to change my mind. But here, I think like 2 weeks ago, most of them that spiked up like this from the start were just rinsing everybody, including me, because I got in on them off patterns just for those patterns to do nothing. And then you don't typically want to get in when there's no previous pattern before, because it could be just one long candle down just like it was going up. I'm interested to see if this might be a good bottom play, because it's got 200 holders. It's getting, I mean, that would be the support level it could bounce off of where it is now. But we might set, just for fun, we might set a limit up. The bottom of this one is pretty low. It's 3, let's see. It's 4.8. One thing I've noticed about these sometimes on the, if you do the bottom play, you gotta sometimes be a little bit more moderate about it. Like ideally you want to put at the bottom, the very bottom, but when they do actually make that good little hump, sometimes they do it right above that area or close to it, but they don't quite get there. Like I've there's been 2 I had limits for, and it went like 0.1 away just to then make a move that would have been like a 50% move. So it's kind of, you got to have a little bit broader range. You either got to have a little bit broader range of how much you're willing to lose on it if it doesn't work, or you got to do just a small trade on it. Let's see what the 1 second looks like. So the 1 second will give us a better idea on that bottom. So 4.8. We might set in for 4.8 just to see if we get that bottom play. Could, I mean, it's got this area it's retesting right now. It could always bounce off this area if it does want to make any move. So this, if it does make a move, then we're going to cancel this because it won't work later on. Because you get like one more hump sometimes if it even does happen. If it does come down to fills, we're going to look to potentially get out quick because it could consolidate for a little while. The only bad thing about these limits is we don't have our stop loss that pops up with the limit order when it gets filled. And it kind of is what it is, but the only way to really play these is the limits, because sometimes when it hits that bottom, that last little bump up is other people putting in limits. So it's either like you get tapped for a quick up, or you know, sometimes it does that slow move and then you can just actually order instead of setting a limit, and then you have your stop loss. But since it's at the bottom, I mean, once it pops up and goes, we're pretty much just going to be watching the percentages. If it goes up to 10%, we'll take out at least 50%, maybe even 100, just for a quick win. And if it goes down, then if it breaks, I would say, what would be 4.8 to 4? That would be what, 15% or no? I wouldn't want to. We would look for like 10 to 15%. The RSI is all the way up. There's no really, like, we shouldn't really be in this one. It's not a strong entry. We might cancel this because that's going against my plan. I need to stick to my plan today. We're going to look for those good entries. We're not going to be messing around with that. Those are fun though, but look at this. The RSI, when you get the RSI looking like this, in my opinion, there's something odd going about that chart, and you want to stay away from it. Or you want to play it for only scalps, because you do not want to hold it. Even though, you know, obviously if you got in down here and went up, then it'd be nice. See, look at that. That's why we wouldn't. That's why, like, this says rug pull. This is a red flag, and that's why. That's going from 560 to 175 just within the few seconds after I said it. So that's, regular charts don't look like that on the RSI. They don't make those patterns. With these rug pulls, you can average down at key support levels, or you can just wait to the biggest, main, obvious one and look for the entry, which would be right here. And sometimes though, on the rug pulls, it's the bottom of the hump. Sometimes it's the ceiling of, let's see if we can find one. It would be like right here where we have a floor and a ceiling going together. So sometimes it does it right here, sometimes it does it right here. Sometimes if the rug pull is really strong, you'll get like one candle that goes past it but then immediately bumps right back up to this level and tests this level and then potentially bumps. So it's one of those that you got to be a little risky about your stop loss, because since you could get that big bump, it could immediately tap you just to pop right back up. So really you want more of an entry. You always want an entry anyway. So right there, it popped past it. I see it coming right back up to it. Alright, so it's coming right back up to it. And it tested it, came right back down. So you want that entry. We can still potentially look for an entry. There's no position over here, no key support area, but since it's dropping so much and it's potentially got people with volume, we can look for an entry. But the entry is going to have to be really strong. Really strong as in like testing a level. I mean, if it pops like just straight up, there's no entry, you know, good for whoever got down here, but that'd be more of a gamble. I would want to see not just a pop, but a retest of a key support level, then an entry for a better play or a higher probability play. Still not a good entry for this one just yet. Usually a lot of times with these rug pulls like that, they go down to about a 30 level before they get a good pop going. So right here we're getting in that 30 area. Let's see if we get a good pop with a retest. No, that was just rug pulling. Still no entry, so we're still not getting into it. If it goes much slower, then we're just staying away from it completely though, because it is it's got no levels to test in a strong way except for levels it makes, and when it made some levels over here, it just kept retesting them and then popping or eventually breaking down through it. how many potential holders it has with volume. Shouldn't be doing that. So this is completely manipulated one, but sometimes you can still get a little pop off of them. Sometimes it's at the main one's main support. Sometimes it's at the very friggin' bottom. Alright, we're not going to play that bottom play. That could potentially work, but it's not going to be a good entry. Let's look for another one. We want them good entries. We need some good music. Or I need some good music. Let's see what we can find. I don't know what I can play with streaming. There's some potential areas to look for on this one. The only thing is it's got a lot of also areas where it would have ceilings if it does go up. Could blow through them, but there's so many ceilings so close together, it'd be a little hard to tell which one it would want to retest versus blow through versus bounce off of and then come down. It's got good volume. Good amount of people. We'll keep it open. Alright, that's key level right there. It's a good spot right here. This would be one, I wish we would have watched this a little earlier. So we had that key support level. Not only did we have it, but it came down, it retested it. So the entry would have been like right here, right when it retested and started making its way up. And you could take out right at this ceiling right here because it's going to face some resistance. I think it's going to blow through it, but it could not. So, but right here would be the safe bet. That would have been about, what, 55 to 67. So that would have been like 15, 20% or so, maybe more. Now I could test this level again because we got it's pretty strong floor over here for it. Seems like it's a bad all out. It's got a strong floor, but also a strong ceiling. I would say with the amount of volume and people, it's got a higher chance to go up. So that battle should have it going up. It shouldn't retest all the way down here again. It should have retested about right there. So that's not a good sign. So typically, if it wanted to retest one more time right there, instead of coming all the way back down, it would have tested right at that level. And since it broke through that, that's usually a sign that you need to get the hell out because it's about to go down quick. Usually it don't go down that quick. I mean, usually you get a huge spike down, but that went from 60 to 29. All right, we're getting a kissing method coming up right here. We don't have as strong of a support level that it's doing it off of, though. That's the only thing that's keeping me from getting in on this. Sometimes, the method I came up with, the kissing method, sometimes it wouldn't matter support or not. But also, it would be more so on the ones that aren't moving as fast. That way you can get a strong entry and definitely get a good feel, regardless if it's on the way up or if it goes down and hits your stop loss. Because we have a stop loss set on this one with how quick it moves. Stop loss isn't going to save us much if it blows through it. We ain't going to get a good fill or filled at all, and we're going to get rinsed. But that one would have been the area, ADX, and RSIs coming up together. coming up for the kiss and been a spike up. Now we can look for an entry. If we can bounce, yeah, so it's bouncing off that. Where would be the next level? It's going to see a ceiling. It's going to see a ceiling here again. And it's going to, ideally, we want to see it bounce off of that, retest this very bottom right there, and then bounce. Got my stop loss. I didn't get filled, did I? What happened? I did not get filled. Why didn't I get filled? That's weird. I guess I'm glad I didn't get filled, but I need to change my settings up. Maybe something got changed whenever I made this new wallet. We could get back in right, or try to get back in right here. That would be a little bit more on the riskier side. It'd have a probability, but not a crazy high probability. But with how much it's went down with no huge spikes up, that would be the level it would want to test for a huge spike up. So it tested it, it's going up, but immediately pops back. There it goes. Now it's getting that huge spike up. So I wish I would have got filled over there. By that time it was looking over here, and I wanted a better entry. Alright, I need to look away from that one. Kind of mad I didn't get filled on that. I need to look back and see if I was off of it when I clicked. I thought I was on it when I clicked, but I need to look back at the video now and see what happened there, or see what it said when it popped up. Because either way, I hit something that didn't get filled, but I need to look away from it because I know myself, and I know I'm gonna revenge trade it, just trying to get the profit since I didn't get in and get that big pop up. Alright, we got potential entries coming up on this one. We're going to keep that one over there and look for a little bit slower moving one that we can play a nice little easy play on the way up. Some of these today I've just went from like 70 to nothing to 200 to nothing. I like it better when some of these at the bottom are still running up and down, because those you can get a better place. So this right here would be the next main area. So we got the RSI coming down. The next big support area, it could do it at any of those support levels up there. I would look for it to come right here. See what the ADX is looking like. The ADX is kind of low for this. Where did it drop to? So it's dropping pretty quick. So it's right here or this level. So right here or this level. We're going to look for an entry. We might get in on this one. We might also get in and get immediately tapped with that stop loss, but let's see if we get an entry. I don't like the ladder on the way down. You want more either spiking down or like some consolidation on the way down. This ladder down kind of makes it look more manipulated, but right here it's bouncing off that level. That probably potentially would have been the only scalp move, but if it starts to make its move back up, we're going to get in. The only thing is there's a ceiling right here, actually right where it hit, but the next ceiling is pretty high. So if it breaks through that, if it retests this level and starts to make a move, then we're going to get in. Oh, motherfuck. Motherfuck. Why am I not getting filled? Alright, I gotta go on one of these slower moving ones and see if I am having an issue with my thing or not. Like, why ain't I getting filled? I don't want to lose money either though, so. If you've been watching, am I not hitting it or something? Like, what is going on? I'm looking more at this, but usually I can see myself doing that one time, but 2 times. That's crazy. But there's something popping up over here too. I don't know if it's saying transaction can't go. I'm kind of curious now. That would have been a great move though, right off that main support level. 51 to 130. That'd been a nice percent one. Right here, it's going to test it. We got two floors right there that test. Broke through those. The next level would be here. It's breaking through. The next level would be right here. That would be a stronger support, or the strongest of the two. So it looks like it went off this. It just broke a little lower before it did it. So it spiked down just a little bit lower than it. Sometimes you can get that if you have, most time it does it right at it. Sometimes if you got, like how this is looking, sometimes it can happen if you drew a line right there where you got more tops. So you got the solid top right there at the same time it's going through these two, along with hitting those wicks. But don't worry about that. More so than not, it goes off that solid. I do like the way this is trading. This is trading in a way that we can predict. So right here would be the next test. It's bouncing, or well, it already is bouncing off that level. It's got a test to see if it wants to break through this ceiling. If it comes down to test, ideally you don't want to see it at that point. It's blowing through that ceiling now, but if it didn't do that, then ideally if it started to come back down, you wouldn't have wanted to see it go past here. You wouldn't have wanted to see it consolidate all the way or retrace all the way back down to this level. Alright, now I need to start getting into trades instead of talking. Gotta start trading some more. Somebody sent something? What is that? Achievement now. I don't know where that came from. Oh, RSI ADX coming up. We got in that before waiting for an entry on that one. We're out. That one is the only loss of this wallet right now. Didn't quite hit that stop loss, but I don't like that setup. Came out for a kissing method, but showed some weakness. But it also had such a strong support level right here that when that happens, sometimes it can come immediately all the way down here. And I was kind of expecting that once it started looking weak. And I would have rather got out and back in than take the loss all the way down. But there's still an entry right here. If it tests this right here, starts to make a pop, that would still be another entry. So right here, it's blowing through that. So, oh well, it's testing it. Let's see. It's got a, should have done it a little higher for a little stronger confirmation. Let's see if it wants to come down to this level now. Alright, got a little scalper in on that one. We got a setup potentially coming up on this one. This one even got movement. Let's see, we got 4K. This one's been out for an hour, so we're going to see what it... Sometimes if it's been out long enough, a movement that looks like a movement on the 1 second isn't a movement actually. So this is actually looking pretty good on the 5 second. We want it to come down to this level right here. It's 38.9 area. So it's almost there. It's close enough to where it could take that bounce, or it could come on down to 38.2. More than likely, we got a ceiling and a floor coming together right here. Close enough around that 37 area. Either way, between here and that 37 area, with how the RSI and the ADX is looking, we can just look for an entry and play off the entry, because it's either going to be here or one of these areas coming up. So let's look for an entry. Oh, it's blowing past those right there, so it's going to come off this one potentially. Either way, there's something coming up on this one, and we're looking for the move. So let's go back to the 1 second to look for a better move. Since it is blowing through those, we want a retest of whatever entry that we see coming up instead of hopping in it prematurely. So this is making its curve at the same time that is. So it could test this level, or it could retrace and test. I would much rather see it come down to this 34 and test. I mean, it's fine if it tests that level too, because it is a strong looking area. So depending on what it looks like once it right there. So we're going to get in. Then nice, we got a little bit lower fill on that. We don't want to see it breaking through this level, because then it's not typically a good sign. Could break through this level, hit that, and then start making a bounce back up. But I think it's got a good chance to go up. But either way, it's either going to work or it's not, and we don't want to see it breaking through this level, or I don't want to see it breaking through that level. Alright, so now that it's made a new floor, we can move that stop loss up. I don't like how weak it is looking. We're taking out 50% right at that break-even area. I still think it's got a good shot of going up. If it does retrace, I don't want to see it breaking 37. I don't want to see it coming down where I am at all. But there is this strong area that it could bounce down to. But I don't really want to see it even do that. But if it does come down, there is that area that has support that it could bounce off of. Alright, it made a new floor, moving that up. It could still do that same thing I just said, coming down to that area. Made a new floor coming up. Now it's either going to spike or we're getting out, because when it's making close floors like that, it's not necessarily too bad, but it's not the best sign either. So we got out. We pretty much broke even on that one. When you got where it's making too close to floors like that, it's either going to it's either making its huge spike right then, so it's not worth taking out just because of that sign. But it is one that you need to be ready to get out of it, because if it doesn't spike up, then it's coming down, and it's coming down quick. RSI is looking good. Alright, so since it's been an hour, we didn't look at the 30 second. The 5 second was looking really good, but blew through those levels. Let's see what the 30 second looks like, because sometimes if it blows through levels like that, then you want to look for the biggest, most main area on the 30 second, and that would be this area right here. So if you're looking at the 30 second, you would look at it and say, hey, yeah, that was actually a strong area over there. But on the 5 second, it was showing it right here. but on the 30-second, it would be right here, but the more obvious would be right here. So we're going to look for play around that area, because right here, so you have the bottom and the top going through, what is that? It's 25. We're going to have to go to that 1 second to get a better idea on the number, because you can't see the exact number when you get to the 30-second, or you get a little too much fluctuation, but around that 25-ish area. But on that one, I had 3 support levels. I had the one that we tried, didn't work, and then it has this one that had that small bounce and came down. Is it already at that level? No, it's at 35. Did it come down to that level? It's 31. We're gonna go on the 1 second, scroll all the way over and see where that one was. All right, 28. Oh, it's testing that area. Okay. It's testing that ceiling. 28. Okay, yeah, so 28 would be the area we would want to see it bounce off of. So it's testing that ceiling that's at right now. I don't think it's doing it in a strong way, so I think it's going to come back down. 31 though, it must have bounced. It's not really any good areas it even took that bounce off of, because where it took that little bounce off of was a consolidation area. We'll see it come down to that 28 area and see what it does. Might make for a good entry. Got to get a little strength bouncing off that support level. This one's not moving too much. Really want to see it come down to 28 and see what it does off that main area, because off that 30-second interval, that's a big main area. With how it's setting up right now. Well, this is the 30-second. We'd have to let it play out more for the 30-second. So as of right now, this would be the area we're looking at. Otherwise, depending on how it's going to look in about a minute, it could be making a setup to make a move to that 53 area. But it's doing it very slow, if it is. Oh, that's the one I was on, wasn't it? We need to look for some good setups right now. Oh, let's see what's going on. Well, we only got one loser, so I guess that's fine. But that last one was just breaking even. Oh. Alright, sometimes on these right here, when the market's going good, and that could change just throughout the day. But right at this level right here, sometimes depending on how the RSI is looking, if you get that happen at the same time that it's bouncing off around this middle area, not always, but I'd say probably 60% of the time, you get a little spike up right then. And if you get it on lows, you got to set your stop loss very, very close. Or I set mine very, very close. Like if I got in right here, my stop loss would be pretty much almost exactly where I was. Because depending on how the rest of the chart looked like over there, but if I was playing it off, hitting off that RSI at the same time that it was testing that level, if it didn't work, it wouldn't work in a way that it could go down really fast. But I'd be wanting to get that spike up. But it works about, I'd say 60% of the time. This one, it was lower than that area, which doesn't mean it couldn't still bounce off that support, but it doesn't give you that second confirmation. So right here, we're getting that second confirmation off this support. So this would be a stronger play. So we can look for an entry on this one. We were on the 5 second. Alright, running out of that one. We got, let's see, what do we get on what percent? We got 14, almost 15% on that one. Oh, this was one you probably more want to hold because I really think that one's strong, but I didn't like having a losing one and a breaking even. Kind of wanted to keep my P&L up and just do that. Well, actually, I said earlier that I wanted to try more hold ones. I should have took out 50% and then held, but it is what it is. That one I think has a good chance. I mean, it could retest right here, but I think that one has a good chance of going back up around this area. Or if it did go up, I would take out around this area because there's a lot of ceilings right there. A lot of ceilings. But that's like the main ceilings past this. So past these two right here, that would be the next main one. Which that's a big jump going from 74 to 84. So if it broke past there, and since it tested that right there, spiked down, if it's making a retracement to go back on the upside, it could blow through those ceilings now since it already retested it. That's not a guarantee, but sometimes when it retests it, pops down, or tests it, pops down, the next one could very well not really hesitate at the area or just hesitate for a second and blow through it. So these sometimes I would trade, but right now it would be outside my trading plan. So I'm not getting in on it. There is a potential trade right there though. That RSI is coming up over it. It's peeking down. It's got a little support area. It's not strong though. So you have semi-strong support, but this isn't a strong bounce. Like this is more consolidation than anything, but it did have that little weak bounce. But the RSI, like you somewhat have, you got two confirmations. You got the RSI and you got the support. But in my opinion, it would be outside my plan because even though I'm looking for two confirmations, it's not strong enough. Like that's a good entry. I would then get in here. If I was going to do it, I would get in there, and I would have my stop loss exactly underneath that hump. But the strength just strength could be there, but I want to get in on it, but it's going to be outside my plan, so I can't. So if you were in it, you would be in the profit right now, and that right now is testing that ceiling. And remember, if it blows to that ceiling, it's going to go up quick to at least that 80 area. I want to watch it, see what it does, because it's outside my plan. So it's going through it now. 70. Oh, there we go. Oh wait, what happened there? So some people might have had their limits set. So you had that spike, but it immediately tested. So right here, check that out. The top of that candle, where it spiked to, was right at 80, and then popped down. It still eventually went back up to that 80 area, that area where I would say I would take out. The only thing about sometimes when there's strong enough ceilings, other people are going to see it too. So if they have a take profit or order set, depending on what platform they're on, to sell them out at a certain area, you can get things like that where it pops up but immediately pops down because a bunch of people and that trade right there on the way up were set to sell right there. But if you were in it, good job. That would have been a good trade. I really wanted to get in on that one, but there's a reason it's outside my plan, and it's not because it's a bad looking trade. It's just trying to do just really good looking trades right now, or two strong confirmations. Because sometimes, not every trade works. So want some strong ones to play off of today. Today I would much rather lose on 10 trades, and those 10 trades be trades that I knew were good trades to get in on with the highest probability, than lose on one trade that right after I was just like, why was I in that? Because I've been getting in too often lately where after I'm like, why was I even in that one? There wasn't anything there or wasn't anything strong enough. These right here, if you ever see one make this move right here, this nice little hump off of a main support area and make the move, it doesn't have to be all the way back up, but I'd say at least 50% up. So ideally though, 75% of the way up or 70% of the way up. Almost always, at least for a scalp, it either one bounces off, depending on how the rest is looking. On this one, it would be right here, this main support level, or this main support level. But almost always you can at minimum get a scalp off of it, but sometimes you get a good little ride up. So like if you got in right there, you could have got a scalp and just took out right at that ceiling, or you could have held it with your stop loss still set down here and still been riding it up. Which one have I not checked? We're at TDP, no coin, bro. Is this one I just checked a minute ago? No. That one back there. Oh, hang on. It's sometimes like the only trades you can make good with those. What's that? Spiking down. Just wait till the very, almost the very dang bottom. Because sometimes it does that. Not always though. They're still very risky, because if they're going down that quick, they could just go all the way to the floor without moving up at all. Let's find an older one. Let's see if we can find. This is 2 hours, 11K. It's got a tiny bit of volume, 700. That's got a good support level over there. Let's see what the 30-second looks like. These older ones, even though they might not have much volume, you can get in. Sometimes you can get in on a smooth trade. Then you just got to wait a little bit longer for watching entries. This one I don't like the setup, mostly because it spiked all the way up, spiked down. But right here would be the only area I would look for an entry on this one. We're not going to look for it just because it doesn't have any volume, or not enough volume to sit around and wait for it, considering that would be the only area when everything else about this one doesn't look that great. Alright, so where this one's bouncing right now, if you go to the 30-second on this oh yeah one, sometimes on the older ones you want to look at the 1 second, 5 second, the 30-second. Typically if it's like an hour or older, I always look at the 30-second, minimum 5 second though, because it's hard to tell where that might be bouncing off of to see if it was just like going to be a quick bounce or potential that it's trying to decide if it wants to make a huge spike up. And where it bounced off of right here is a main support area. So the next main support area will be over here, but considering that bounced off that main support area, this consolidation that it's doing over here, we can go to that 5 second, see what that consolidation looks like on the 5 second. The RSI, it's a little bit over that. And even though it's broke through that middle of the line, it hasn't done it strong enough. Now it's doing it strong enough that it's not giving that second confirmation on RSI. But let's see that support level. We could also check the 1 second on that. Yeah, the 1 second started blue through that. So we wouldn't get two confirmations on that one. But before it started doing that, where it was testing was that area right there. And that's also not a strong support area. So you wouldn't have had two confirmations then. And the support level would have been a support level, but a weak one. It could retest this area again though and make for an entry. We're starting to have a BR methods coming up. That method I came up with, the ADX and the RSI, is starting to kiss, but you always want to wait till this makes its move on the downside to confirm a point, because sometimes this could immediately keep spiking down without this making that curl yet. So let's see. So I want to kind of just go and get in this one. I think this has got a good chance, but I also think it could retest this level. Alright. We're going to do a little scalp on that one. See what we got on it. We got 12% on that one. This is another good one to hold. It has a lot of ceilings right here. It's got a breakthrough. But the next big area is right here. That's 48 area. So, or actually it'd be 35 then 48. So it's got a good chance of it going on the upside and a strong upside. We're going to see if it makes for solid entry. See if we can fix the way it looks a little bit. Alright, where's the bounce? We could get back in and go ahead and set a stop loss right underneath that, because it's either going to work at this level or it's not. I wouldn't want to see it go past 27. This, oh yeah. It's testing that 27 right now. It's blowing past it, so that one would not work. So we want to have our stop loss close on that one. Since it's going over here, I don't expect it to retest this. It's breaking through it. So we want to see where this next area would be. Just trying to make its move. It can make its move or not, but I would want to see a better area it's bouncing off of. I mean, it could do whatever it wants to, but it could bounce off no area at all. But we want bouncing area. So the next main area would be at 22.5-ish. Is that where it bounced? That was, yeah, it was lower, let's say. Alright, so the next one would be 19.7. 19.7. The only thing I don't like about this one is that next level is at that dev area. And sometimes there's very good plays off where the dev sold, or you know, where it kind of started to spike, but sometimes that's where it rinses the rest of the way. It's actually looking good now that it's it had that spike down, but now it's basically made a new support area for it to test. So it's actually looking very strong now. There's no entry on it, but looking strong. So that very first trade I got in with this one, if you wanted to play it for a little bit longer trade and not scalp it, and you know, you trusted that wouldn't rug pull on you and you were fine holding it for potentially like 10-15 minutes, you would have set your stop loss underneath this hump. You potentially could have got tapped and it would have happened super quick just for it to pop right back up. So you could have left yourself a little bit of room and played it really safe going off of below that one, 22.4. So you still potentially would have got tapped just for them make that move. So even if you had the stop loss and set it where you needed to, you would have potentially got tapped if you got filled fast. So far, we kind of did have the best trade with it. We waited for an entry. We got that quick pop up. It hasn't broke through that level yet. We're going to go to another one. This is not making any good entries. It can do whatever it wants to at this point. Let's see what Clown's doing. Wait, that had... I don't like when it has... Well, no, it's starting to catch up. I like when you got a lot more volume than the market cap. Usually, in my opinion, when you get ones that have like that where it started out kind of even, usually you get a big rinse going on. And it did a big rinse. It actually did a huge rinse. That was a 50% rinse if you got in right when it was up here. Alright, we got a potential play coming up on this one, on Awesome. Alright, let's see what's going on. So we got that flow, it's already making the move. Already making its move. That was going to be the support level. And since that's the support level and it was already at that time making a little move off of it. Yeah, there's no entries right here. We'll keep this one up though. Sometimes it's best just to have like two pulled up and just watch those two, because these make or most of them make multiple moves throughout the day or throughout its time span where it's running. So sometimes you need to sit back and watch two instead of skipping around. But that's more of a personality thing. That's whenever I try to do that, I get bored, and sometimes I miss those moves just because I walked out of the room because I got a little bored versus skipping around. If I skip around, I still might miss that move, but for me personally, I like looking around versus just sitting there watching too. But smarter bet would actually probably be just sitting there watching too, waiting for just perfect trades. Alright, we got a potential possible one coming up on this one. TDP. TDP starting to make a setup. It's got a couple areas that could do it on now. Right where it is right now, it's looking pretty decent. We're on the 5-second interval. Let's see what 30-second looks like. It's not quite at an hour, but just about. It's got a couple places. So if you look right here, it's got that huge support area right there, huge support area right there, and then that huge support area right there where it is pretty much right now. So it technically could be one of those three, and there is a broad range number-wise between those three. So there isn't like any just get in here and put your stop loss all the way down here type of thing. This is, you'd want a good strong entry on one of them, but the move's coming up soon, and I would think, based off how that 5-second looked, you probably would get at the minimum scalps at each one. So if it does start to break down here, I would say once it gets down here, if that's not the big move, if it is going to make a big move, then I would say there's a scalp there. Even if it wants to pop up and then make its move down here. But it's still, even though it's lower than this area right over here, that main area, since that's the area it first started bouncing off of, and now it's right here testing or retested that same area it bounced off of, it's still technically testing that first one. Looks like it tried. It did a quick little bounce just to immediately lose it again. Alright, so if it is gonna where we would want to look for it right now, if it is gonna do that area, it would do that. So it'd break through that. Like I said, whatever move's happening, it's gonna happen real soon. Like, alright, so it's coming down to this area. It's testing this area now. And it's come a little bit lower for a stronger one, but it could do it at that wick. Because even on this strong area, you got like two places. You got the top of that one or the bottom of that one. Let's see what the 1 second looks like. Could always get a scalp if it makes a good little setup. I mean, I would say there's a good chance it could just get in right now and it make a scalp, whether it retraces, goes a little consolidation. I would say if you got in and held it for 1 minute, sometime within that minute it would be up. But that would just be kind of based off of how that support looked, and only that one thing instead of waiting for two confirmations and an entry. So I'd say it'd be like 60% chance if you did that, and this would be your entry right there. So it went down to this area, tested it, started making that bounce. Right there would be your entry. It's still not that strong scalp entry, but that would be your entry if you did want to get in on that one. Right there, it's at right now is that it's testing that ceiling. The next one would be that 36. I see it having a higher chance of going to that 36 area before it has a stronger chance of popping down. We're going to keep this one and watch it for an entry. Alright, so if it doesn't blow through this level, which is potentially gonna finally test this bottom of this one, which would be that stronger area I was saying of this support. So this would be the scalp lookout for it. Could be the play or it could be the scalp, but this would be the area I would look for the scalp. I hit that a little late. I might have to move my stop loss up. Hit it a little later than I wanted to. Oh. I wanted to sell 50%, not that. We pretty much broke even. I think I lost 3%. The thing that I was a little worried about was that curl down. Wasn't doing it in a strong way to show a good spike. I should have honestly just held that one. That one was bad on my end. I should have let that play off my stop loss. That one wasn't a good one on my end. I traded that badly. I traded that real badly. It happens though. It happens. Yeah, pretty much broke even on that. Actually, probably lost after fees, even though that was 0.5%. 0.5%, even though it kept going up. I traded that bad. Because even where it tested was where my stop loss was, which I should have went off my plan. My plan should have been on that one, is I moved my stop loss up, because if it broke through that, then it means it wouldn't have worked. It could come down to that level. It's fine to test that level, which is why my stop loss would have been there. But said I prematurely got out, and even when I hit, I don't even think I had a good feel. So I think whenever I hit it said like forward, and it immediately dropped. But that would have been the scalp play. I just played that badly. Oh, I'm irritated about that one. That one was just bad trading on my end. Man, it's got a good chance to keep going too. Really good chance, because it bounced off those support levels very cleanly, very cleanly. That's that next ceiling, but let's see how much strength that ceiling has. That ceiling does have some strength. The next one would be 48. So it blew through that. It's going up to 47.2. Now it's getting a stronger ceiling. Oh gosh, I traded that so badly. Oh, freaking idiot. I don't know why I even hit to get out. That RSI, it was not even curling in a strong enough way to worry me. Or it shouldn't have worried me. Yeah. It is what it is. If you got in for that potential scalp though, congratulations. Hope you held on that one. This is no coin is getting a nice setup going, potentially. Very nice level. Very, very nice support level. Check the 30 second just in case. So if you look at this 30-second, look how clean these support levels are. Or, well, not clean, but pretty dang clean. So this would be one we want to watch for an entry, because it could happen very soon. Alright, this would be the last area right here. If it breaks to that, we don't want to be in it, but this would be the area we would want that entry. We could have go ahead and got in on it, because it's somewhat of entry right here. We're gonna go ahead and get in on it. Where it's a little bit more risky because it's not doing it in a strong way, but we're gonna go ahead and move our stop loss a little bit lower, because as long as it don't break through this level, I should have, before I got into the trade, I should have scrolled over on the 1 second and actually figured out the number for that area. I said that would be the last play, because on that 30-second, it's a little harder to see the exact number. The line looked like it was getting close to it, but that could have been, you know, 2,000-3,000 off, which is a big difference. Alright, starting to make a new floor right there, but with some consolidation, that could still mean it's going to come back down and do some more consolidating. Alright, we're out on that one. 12% I think on that one. %15 on that one. And if you notice, I'm only doing 0.1 on these. I usually do a little bit more on them, but I also came in today wanting to do more holding than scalping, because yesterday, whenever I was trading, the market was showing some better strength than it has recently, and showing better strength for stuff not getting rinsed as much. I mean, stuff's still getting rinsed, but not as much. And I even came in and set my take profit stop loss to 50%, so it would take 50% at 10% instead of me getting out at 10%, or taking 100% at 20% or something. But I ain't been holding. I need to actually do that part of my plan today. It's hard to get out of that habit of scalping though, with how the market's been, because I got out of that habit after I finally figured out the difference between how these trade versus stocks, because even though they trade in similar ways, it's just enough that it was messing me up at first. I was having to iron out some things, but once I finally got adjusted to it and was getting it down, was around the same time the market seemed to just, like 2 weeks ago or sometime, the market was just rinsing strong on so many things, and that's when I decided to do the holding. So didn't quite work, so I went back to scalping, and now it's getting hard to get out of that scalping mode. This could still make it curl up. It's looking like it's trying to. It's got these ceilings right here it's got to break through. Sometimes those, the way this one looks right now, sometimes those are the ones that get me the worst, because the setup is looking like it wants to curl, and this one actually did somewhat work. Like the curl happened and it broke through to that next ceiling. So it would have only been a scalp. Sometimes those curls can really curl, but either way, sometimes those are the ones that get me the most. I'll get in on without checking anything else. Like I would get just for that one thing instead of checking other indicators or checking other areas. And whenever I saw that little curl, I scrolled out and I saw that there was not just that ceiling, but a handful of ceilings right above it. And the RSI wasn't looking too great for where it should have been with that one. It's looking better where it is now, though. It's bouncing off this than where it was before. But so many times I got in, not on these meme coins, but stocks in general, when I was getting to learning everything, that those would really get me, because the setup's like, oh, it's a nice little curl, it's going to keep curling, and it would just plummet after that. So I see this one would have been the better one. So it had that curl, but it also had the RSI. That would have been the better entry, better play. Still pretty much did what that one did, just spiked up, spiked down, but that one would have been 2 confirmations and a better entry. I wonder if this is how this one's going to go up. I said it looks good to go up strong, and it's going up, and it's literally hitting every ceiling, testing, popping up, but it looks so slow because it's got to bust through all of those ceilings. So sometimes when it's like that, you'll get it, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then you'll get a big spike retracement to around like 75% or good support level of when it started that, and then you can get entry for the way up to where it would shoot up, or it would either shoot or shoot down at that point, but typically shoot up at that point. It ain't worth watching right now, or not for me. Alright, this one would be a good sign if it didn't fully retrace. I mean, it's fine if it does. It would have been a better sign though if it bounced off that level. So slightly above that full retracement right there. The RSI and that support level though, you do got 2 confirmations. I would have liked to see it stronger, and the stronger would have been it doing it at that one right before it. That would have been the stronger area. It could still have that strength. I mean, it could spike up, but it could still a good strength coming down and testing that same area I was just talking about. Just a little pop down, but not quite that area. Right now, though, even that wouldn't be. I would have rather just seen it do that in the first place, though. So it's doing it right now. It's testing that. So it's breaking through it. Yeah, it's not strong. Not strong. I would have much rather. Would have been a really good setup if it did that one area right above it. Now we're getting a good setup. We get the ADX, the RSI, and we still got a key support area. So right here would be, let's see, we might miss the trade looking for these levels. Right here, it could still spike down. Well, it's actually testing that level now. Yeah, okay. This would be the level to look for an entry. 31. It can come down to that 30. We might miss this one. It can come down to that 30, 31 area, retest, pop up. Yeah. Alright, so right here's where we're going to look for it. See if we can get an entry. So that was barely an entry. I might have prematurely did that. That was barely an entry, but that was still an entry. So it immediately spiked up 10% and immediately went down, or 9% and went down 15%. So it is what it is. Still got a potential for the entry right here though. We're going to get rinsed on this one. I ain't moving that. We might get rinsed on this one. It'd be nice if we didn't, but we might. I'm getting it out. We broke even on that one. I'm gonna be mad if it goes up, but that one wasn't looking good over here. That one looks like it's gonna rinse right now. And if it does rinse, let's see. I mean, that is that strong area. We should be getting a play off that area. But if it rinses, it's going to rinse down hard. See if we get a breakthrough. Yeah, I think this one's going to rinse. I don't think this is a good setup anymore. Alright, let's go see if we can find something else. Instead of watching that, see what it's going to do. It's going to do what it's going to do regardless. Potential play coming up on this one. Potential. It's not a very strong play, but it's got a potential of a nice profit for a hold though. We got, so this part right here, the ADX and the RSI, since they came together, usually if they come together and it doesn't work, it works on the very next area it makes a bounce off of. So this would have been that method right there. And the only times, like, it works like 80, at least 70% of the time, I would say. But the times it doesn't, what's great about it is it does that at the next one typically, which would have been right there. And you can set your stop loss up, because usually it's more than just a scalp on those. Usually you get a good move, but you at least can get a scalp. But usually you get a good move. Right here, like, you could have at least got a scalp, but usually those are good moves. You can hold them for a good play. And we got it showing that at the same time we got it looking like it's bouncing off some support. It can come a little bit lower and test that area one more time, but we don't really want to see that. At, let's see, 8. While the RSI is giving confirmation, the setup isn't giving a strong one. It's giving a weak setup, or it's giving some look like a setup, but in a weak way. You technically have two things confirming, but I don't think I'm trading this one. I gotta stick to my plan. But you do technically have two things confirming, but that one of them is just, I would say, weak. If it is weak though, then there's a move potentially coming up. Oh, I might have to go get me some caffeine. Oh. Oh. That's a strong candle right there. So that's why those curl ups would get me. That strong candle, it's like, oh, it's starting to do that curl, but it's got a ceiling right there. And so often, it'll make that strong curl immediately go there and pop right back down. And it'll pretty much more so consolidate than anything. So that strong candle, but it's right at a ceiling. So, yeah, it's strong, but it's also right at a ceiling. Oh, we're on the 5 second. Let's see what the 1 second looks like. 1 second made it look a little better. Because technically it was a tiny bit above it, or it just broke through it. I might go get this caffeine. Oh, we got a kissing method coming up. We might play this just for the kissing method on this. The BR method, kissing method, the ADX, RSI's coming together on awesome. If it doesn't work on this one, it's the next one. You still always want to wait for an entry, and you want to wait for that to curl over to make a point. And since they came right there and it didn't work, we want that next level, and we're going to make at least a play on that. We want to wait for that ADX to make a curl over. Making a curl over. Oh, we're getting rinsed. Come on, pop. I gotta move my stop loss. I can't see what it's trying to do. It's doing those small candles. We're just gonna have to play this by ear and watch just the percentages. But right now, the percentages are saying we're getting rinsed. Rinsed 17%. Make that curl. Come on. This one might be one we cancel the stop, and if it does pop down, then we average down on it. That would probably be, I really want to see how this is looking better on here. I did sell 50% when it started to come back upwards, just in case it did want to rinse. That way we're not getting fully messed up on it. There's some areas right here. It's got some support it can bounce off of. I'm very surprised that did not work well. That usually works perfectly. But look at this. We got two support areas over here. Now that we can see it a little better. So it could have just wanted to come down to those support levels. Alright. Finally making its move up. If I didn't sell 50%, then we could have sold now and broke even. We are selling 50% at that break-even level. So I don't want to hold this one. It's not what I want to hold. There's still just enough potential to hold the last couple bucks on it, but not a not a strong enough one for me to not have wanted to sell that last other 50%. There we go. Go on up. Alright. Calling it on that one. I need some caffeine. I'm getting a little tired. But that one wasn't too bad. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. We were down like 20% at one time, and I think we only lost like 1% instead, or 2%, or let's see, 1.7%. So got a little save. If you never averaged down, that would have been one that you can still save it by averaging down. That's why we cancel that stop loss. That stop loss, it helps, but sometimes it can also hurt you too, though, because it prevents you from averaging down. And since you have to sell, you got fees. If you get capped out or tapped out just to get right back in, then you're doubling up on fees for no reason. Yeah, I need some caffeine because I want to revenge trade this to get that profit back, but I need to make good trades today. I need to stick to my plan. I can feel myself getting a little sleepy, and I know I make worse trades when I get sleepy. I mean, you can already see my last 3 trades, 2 losers, whereas earlier I only had 1 loser for that many. Oh man, I'd want to get in there. Alright, I'm getting this caffeine. I'm going to be back. So if you're watching this, I will start this back up. What time is it? 3:30. I'll probably start back here in just a minute. I'm gonna just get some fresh air. Probably just get a little caffeine. Take like a 5 to 15 minute break at most, and then get back on here and knock some stuff out. So I will be back.